welcome back to another episode of BestowCast, and I have someone here. Say hi. Hi,
Greetings.
someone.
This is me. You said you wanted to talk Wednesday, and today is Wednesday,
Right.
so here I am.
Great. So are you physically here, or are you lost in space? How does this canon work?
I don't even remember. I mean, I'll have to go back and review some of the episodes to remember exactly what I'm happening.
Our loose
The
canons.
loose cannon, yes. We have a loose cannon. I think you're in space, aren't you? Or are you back?
Well, no. I mean, if this is BestowCast and not Sleepless Nights,
then I'm in space with
then
you.
You're in space. No, you're in space, and I'm on Earth.
Oh, it's all backwards.
Yes, it's backwards.
This is like Bizarro World.
Yes. You're in space, and I'm the pantsless decoy.
Oh boy, I'm getting a headache already. We spent a lot of time ruining our own franchise, but let's talk about other people's work.
Let's
shall
crap
we?
on. Now, I'm going to say this thing because everybody's podcast is their first podcast. You remember that saying?
Podcast?
Podcast.
Who says that?
I think it was Stanley. The
Stanley
late great
said
Stanley.
everyone's podcast?
Podcast was the first podcast. We're going to talk about Wednesday, and we're going to spoil the shit out of it.
Yes.
However, we're going to talk about it in general because we don't have enough time to do the
Yes.
Book of Boba Fett deep dive 12 episode.
Where we had two guest hosts come in and talk about the two episodes that didn't have Boba Fett.
And confuse the crap out of the listeners. Like, why is this? Like, did you watch Book of Boba Fett?
Yeah, we just did the thing that they did with our
thing
show.
that they did. Yes. So let's get right into it. Let's talk about Velma.
Oh, right, Velma. I understand everyone hates it.
Yes. And it got renewed because everyone hates it. And I bailed out. I bailed out 15 minutes and I hated it.
That is the new currency. You know, Kathleen Kennedy of Star Wars said that we just say things on purpose. We announce things on purpose that will antagonize the fan base because that is the real currency, is when you've got all the fans arguing and talking about your thing.
Now, did she really say this, or is this like a Stanley thing?
She really did say this.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. All right, Wednesday, though.
Yes.
Screw Velma.
I mean, not word for word. Screw Velma. Where do I get in line? First of all, I guess
we're topical.
Very topical. Yes.
When did this come out? Like
3 months
December?
ago? 4 months ago, right on top of it. I think actually
this might as well be the Sleepless Nights.
Yes, right. We're on the Sleepless Nights schedule. We're right on top of things. I think the thing is that, don't you notice that with all these things, there's like take backsies where everybody loves something and then 3-4 months later, everyone just doesn't like it anymore. Mm-hmm. So everyone loved Wednesday when it came out.
Okay.
So maybe we can be on top of the thing of people realizing that it wasn't that good.
That they don't like it now?
Yeah. They could just change their mind on it.
I hate this word, but is it too woke? I hate that.
I hate that word. Let's not use that word. I think that if you care about social issues and that's in your work, Gene Roddenberry cared about social issues.
Right.
Rod Serling cared about social issues. But if you're a corporation like Netflix or Disney and you don't really care about anybody except lining your pockets and you're just exploiting people of various groups, then that's something worse than woke. And then you're doing two things. You're not serving the people who you're supposed to be representing, and you're antagonizing racist, bigoted jerks.
Right. All for just to have that negative press.
Yes, just to get that. Yeah, exactly. No such thing as negative press. Everybody's got to be talking about it. So if we can't convince them, enrage them.
Right. I don't know if was there anything negative about this. The only thing I saw that was negative, I guess, is that they kept calling Tim Burton racist. And I don't understand. Like I heard that before the series came out, and I don't really understand.
Tim Burton said something weird about how he doesn't know how to photograph brown people or doesn't feel like brown people exist in his imagination or something to that effect. I'm paraphrasing.
Okay.
But if you look at Tim Burton's movies, you see a lot of pasty people with dark circles around their eyes. Right. You don't see a lot of various races represented.
Okay. All right. I assumed it was something related to the show, and it's like, well, it's a very diverse show. I don't understand.
It is a pretty diverse show. I think that it's kind of, I mean, it makes sense since Dad is Gomez, that obviously having her be Hispanic makes sense.
Right.
But I don't know if Addams Family doesn't really need to make sense, really, but right. I think it was always implied that Gomez was Spanish or Hispanic or
right.
Latino.
Right.
And then I don't know about Morticia also being Latino.
Yeah, because I always the outside sources that spoke to me, the outside the ghost that
Yeah. Yes.
I got the Ouija board out, and the Ouija board
Yes.
spoke to me and said that Morticia
Uh-huh.
always spoke French, and that always turned Gomez on. So
Oh.
therefore, she must be French. And I'm like, but she could still be
You're right.
Latino and
Yeah.
just speak French.
Speak French. Yeah. Yeah. I assumed that she was since she always had this cadaverish pallor and everything, I just assumed that she was extra white, and I don't know what that would be, she could be Welsh or something, I don't know, or Norwegian or something, or Swedish, where they're like 6 feet tall or 8 feet tall, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, does that mean that the headmaster was Swedish? Does Gwendolyn Christie?
Oh man,
she's like 6'5".
Captain Phasma.
Yes,
I was hot,
and
for
I
her.
love. And then they cast her in Wednesday as the principal, and then they put her on in heels to even make her taller.
I thought she was a great character.
And yeah, you get lines. You get more lines than throw in the trash compactor.
Yeah, I know. It's weird because like I thought Wednesday's werewolf sidekick roommate was fun.
Right.
I
Should have
thought
taken notes for names.
all the different. It doesn't matter. All the different monster. They had the Monster High thing going on with all the different cliques of monsters. All the vampires hung out, and the Gorgons and all that. The furries, the fangs, the furs, the fangs, and the Gorgons.
I was thinking
like
the sirens,
stoners, right?
Stoners,
were the Gorgons. The sirens, right?
Sirens, yes.
And the thing that kind of is weird is that Wednesday, as far as the Addams Family functions, both in the comic cartoon strip and in the TV show, there were the weirdos,
right?
And then normal people didn't know how to deal with them.
Correct.
And I felt that this story, speaking of Tim Burton, this is like Lydia's bag, where she's a normal girl going to a boarding school, and she has all these fantastical monster characters around her, and she's dull. Like that was, I think, the thing that I was struck. It's like, what's Wednesday's superpower? She's a bitch. That's her superpower, and then everybody else
a soothsayer.
Everybody else is interesting. I mean, she at least had that. I think that's why they gave her the psychic,
right?
Whatever those are, premonitions. I guess
she was a raven. Her mom was a dove, and she was a raven. So apparently, her mom is a
witch.
She was she visions. She had visions.
Yeah, she had visions.
Yeah.
She
I said soothsayer, but I don't know if that's
I don't think that's the right word.
I don't know if that's the proper.
A soothsayer, I feel like, is just like a charlatan, right? That's just like a snake oil salesman.
Tomato.
But but yeah, she has psychic premonitions,
right.
I guess.
Right.
But
depending what she comes in touch with.
But I think that that character is hard to make work in big doses because it's just her being disinterested and annoyed with everyone else.
Right. Because they explain like the difference between the dove and the raven was that the doves, everybody loves the doves, but the ravens were always going to be alone and single because their visions were always, I guess, more negative, more darker than what a dove's would be.
And I didn't like how they did make the mother. They tried to make her. I guess they tried to make her more upbeat so that she is contrast to Wednesday, I guess.
Right.
But Morticia, even the Morticia didn't. I never think of a big toothy grin with Morticia. You know what I mean? And Morticia is somewhat dour, also. Maybe not necessarily dour, but definitely somewhat reserved.
Right.
And so you don't really. So she doesn't really seem like herself.
She seemed like maybe if you go from like the movies, maybe more sadistic. She kind of a little bit likes the, you slept last night. You had a tortured sleep last night. It must have been wonderful.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
But I don't even think she did a lot of that. Did she?
In the series?
Wednesday?
No, I don't know. Well, you didn't really see much of them.
No, you didn't.
They
see
dropped
much
her
of
off
the
and then
family.
they pissed off.
Yeah, they dropped her off and they pissed off. I didn't think that Gomez was very good either.
No,
I mean, I like that actor also.
Right. When they made the casting, going back to the casting, were you okay with that, or were you?
I mean, initially I thought, well, that kind of makes him look like the comic strip.
Yes.
So, but he didn't have. I thought his energy was wrong.
Yes.
I don't think he
Yeah.
played it well. I feel like they somehow made the Addams boring.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I felt the same way where it's like, well, Louis Gusterson, I think is Louis, whatever.
Yes.
The actor, I like, he looks the part, but I'm like, I wouldn't think he would play the part considering his other roles.
I was shocked because I really thought I was actually thinking he was going to do well with it. And he seemed kind of, and maybe they had them underplay it so that Wednesday would be the focus, and you didn't want to see more of the other Addamses.
Right.
But honestly, my two favorite Addamses was Thing and Uncle Fester. I thought, what is it? God, we're terrible with these names. The guy from Portlandia, Armazian, or gosh darn it, whatever his name is.
Yes.
The Portlandia guy.
Yes.
Him as Uncle Fester, I thought he was great, and he was doing like a Jackie Coogan like TV show, Uncle Fester.
Right.
And so I thought he was great. I thought Thing, whoever puppeted that hand, emoted wonderfully.
Right.
Like and I like the Frankenstein stitches on the Thing hand,
and then it's all patched up over the top.
Yeah, no, I liked all of that.
Right.
The worst thing about the show was Wednesday. Like everything around her was interesting. And in fact, we were talking about woke. I think honestly,
make sure you use those finger quotes.
Oh yeah, woke.
Okay. I don't know if they saw that in the back row.
I think that it was like I think it's like Harry Potter that's safe for queer kids. This show. Because J.K. Rowling is kind of under fire for being somewhat conservative in her views, and I kind of saw this as like, oh, this is the Harry Potter for the other kids. This is the Harry Potter for the gay kids and for the trans kids and for the weird kids, right?
For the weirdos, yep.
Yep. So that was the thing I kind of liked about it, because it gave another. It gave I guess an alternative type, same sort of story, but an alternative version of it.
So I had a problem with this, and now I'm not really super familiar with the comic. Mine would probably stretch from the TV show, the black and white TV show, the movies. I did see the first animated one, and that's probably about the end of the line for me. And the thing is, and it kind of bugs me because they express this in like the first episode. They express this over and over again, where like the Addams have no fear. They're not afraid of death. They're not afraid of defying the police. Uncle Fester lived X amount of years in a Turkish prison, and he learned these traits. We don't fear this. We don't fear that. And then we get to the episode where, oh no, Gomez is in jail, and we fear that, and we gotta. And I was like, that's like kind of like reverses everything that you kind of say. It's like, okay, I can take this as its own universe, and take that other stuff out of the equation. But when you're stating this from episode 1 on, when Fester is like confirming this, when other characters around you are confirming this, and then all of a sudden you have to be afraid because plot says so. It kind of got annoying to me.
I almost feel like I said, I almost felt like this show was written for something else. Like if this was written for Lydia from Beetlejuice, and she goes to monster school, and then her 2 weird affected parents get pulled into it. Like I could totally just see the same show just written around other characters.
Right.
Where
that Netflix approached Tim Burton. He's like, I had this script, but this script is with, I don't know what, Universal or whatever.
Yeah, right, exactly. Well, we can't do the Beetlejuice Lydia show.
That's been a dead franchise for 20 years.
Yeah, we can't do Lydia goes Lydia goes to not that Addams Family's any different. Lydia goes to Monster High, right? That we can't do that.
Can we do a Monster High? Well, I want to do a PG Monster High. Well, maybe we can't do a PG Monster High because the right holders don't want.
Well, and that's it too. Is I think there were some things they were trying to get to. They probably were trying to get to Monster High. They probably were trying to. There was that web series with I guess a lady pretending to be Teenage Wednesday that she as it was like a College Humor kind of skit, only as a series where it was like Wednesday as an 18-year-old in high school, and she got shut down. The rights holders for the Addams Family shut down that project. And I kind of think like, oh, people, this got a lot of views. People like this idea of an older Wednesday. Let's do this ourselves. But of course, we can't use any of those same ideas.
Right.
And, You know what I mean? So I feel like that probably
We do the 14%
yeah,
change,
25%
change.
change, I think was probably in effect, where they wanted to sort of, they shut this other person down so they could do it themselves. Maybe.
Right.
I don't know 100%.
Or 75%.
Or 75% or 25%. I didn't even think, like, the thing where she does the Wednesday dance or whatever dance she was doing. I didn't understand why did that set the internet on fire? Because it didn't.
Just because it was weird, I think.
I guess she had COVID while she was doing that.
Okay.
Supposedly she was sick.
Okay.
She was waiting for her COVID test to come back.
Mm-hmm.
This is another thing that Tim Burton's gotten in trouble for. And they said, well, we don't have your test back, so we don't know if you have COVID or not. So
there's Wednesday.
Yep.
She's mad. She's mad. She just heard.
That's the pizza. So they said, look, we don't know if you've got your test back. So let's film this scene because we don't know that you have COVID. It's like, well, we don't know that you don't have it either, right? So they make her film that whole dance scene feeling like shit in a room full of people.
Okay.
When she definitely had COVID.
Okay.
So that was a big, I guess, thing where Tim Burton said she was unprofessional and she wouldn't work with her again. And there was some talk of her being Lydia in a reboot of Beetlejuice. And I think Tim Burton was saying he didn't want to work with her. But then because of the success of this, maybe now he does want to work with her. Like, it's just that I feel like there was a lot of drama behind the scenes with this movie. And it's probably it was very, very hard to make this during the pandemic.
Well, it was probably stressful on top of it. It was stressful on us, on us normies.
Yeah.
So I can imagine.
And and getting back to, I guess, again, we keep talking about wokeness, but
make sure there's those finger quotes.
Yes,
there you go.
Finger quotes, wokeness.
All right.
But I felt like all the African American characters were unlikable. They made them the jocks, and I don't know if that's actually like, oh, they get to be the jerk bullies now,
right?
And it's like, I don't know, that doesn't
add up,
no.
Right?
So we don't like them though, and then they kind of try to take it back at the end by making that girl have like a change of heart and be not so mean,
right? The siren,
yes, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I still kind of felt
what's her name, the siren?
Yeah, what's her name, the siren? But I still kind of felt that it was sort of. I just didn't felt that those were they're trying to have this diversity, but then they've got these kind of like these very negative characters.
Negative stereotype.
Yeah,
kind of.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a stereotype.
But it was weird that the dad had the strange pilgrim.
Mm-hmm.
I would think that a white guy would probably own the weird pilgrim amusement park,
right?
With the sort of backward, racist sort of or colonist sort of ideals behind it. But I feel like they were trying to soften that by making a black guy own that,
right?
So some of that stuff I thought was a little clunky,
right?
And unbelievable.
What is it? Gabby Addams. What was the? Because she
Which
was
one?
The descendant that Wednesday.
Right.
Was it Gabby?
I think it was something like that.
Something
or
like that.
Gabrielle, or I can't remember. Yeah, but
she wasn't of Latino. Or she didn't appear Latino. I don't know. I can't speak out of line. She may
I don't know. That was all kind of interesting.
Because I guess if she was Latino and a witch and being tried and hunted, is that a negative? Is that
I don't know. Yeah, the whole,
not to get political
the whole witch burning thing was kind of interesting.
Yes.
And they had all the bullies dressed as pilgrims working at the amusement park. Mm-hmm. Or celebrating the whatever,
right?
Pilgrim Day.
Day.
I did feel like a lot of that stuff they were trying to say something with some of that, and sort of be pro outsider, mm-hmm. But it was they kind of made it a little convoluted, I think.
Right.
It is interesting to me that I almost tapped out after the first episode.
Oh, yeah.
Like I was really not.
You're gonna
enjoying
tap
it.
out. You're like, Paul's like wants to talk about this.
Yeah.
I gotta suck it up.
It was
So
funny.
you were like me with Velma. You're like, I'm out of here. Screw this.
And it's funny because it's like, okay, I'm gonna keep. I'm ready to tap out. About an episode and a half, I was ready to tap out, and then I'm like, well, okay, I'll just watch the whole thing. And then it actually grew on me.
Right.
I actually enjoyed it more and more as it went on.
You get invested in the mystery of it.
Yeah,
more
yeah.
so than when you stop analyzing everything else and just get into the mystery, you're kind of.
And
hooked.
I did like I said, I liked the side characters a lot. I liked the principal. I liked the werewolf roommate.
Right.
I liked
Gorgon.
Christina Ricci's teacher
Yes.
character. I didn't even know that was her. I didn't even know
My
that was
friend didn't know
Christina
either.
Ricci.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
did you know that Christina Ricci was in this? Because this was before I even watched
Yeah.
it, and I knew that she was in it.
Yeah.
And I said, did you know she was in it? And she said, oh, I don't know. What character? And I'm like, oh, she's the principal.
Or no, she's a teacher.
Or a teacher.
Yeah.
I said, all I know is that she's a teacher. And she's like, oh, she's the villain. And I'm like, fuck.
Spoiled it.
Like, shh. She's like, sorry.
Yeah, that's kind of funny that they put Wednesday against Wednesday.
Yes,
you know?
yes.
It's like wrestling where they have like they make them fight the
Yeah.
old champion.
The old version. It's
you
like
know?
it's like any comic book. They have to fight same.
Yeah, yeah.
Spider-Man versus Spider-Man.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Spider-Man versus
So
Venom.
Exactly. The new one is versus the old one to try to build them up. But I just thought that like like I said, I thought she did really good business. She like I said, she acted well enough for you to almost forget she was Christina Ricci,
Right.
which is pretty amazing. And then like I said, the Principal Phasma was awesome.
Right.
I thought she was really great and really fun. And Fester was fun, and Thing was fun. I just didn't think Wednesday was fun. Like
Right.
for her as the main character, she just seems selfish and obtuse most of the time, and sort of inconsiderate of other people.
Right.
It's supposed to be that she's, this individual and this iconoclast and marching to a beat of her own drummer, but she just kind of comes off as sort of rotten. I don't know. That was kind of my impression. I didn't like her. I didn't like her
Right.
character.
Well, she's supposed to be unlikable, but you don't feel like she becomes likable by the end. I mean, she's still kind of, because she's like, oh, spoilers, but she's got a stalker by the end of the thing, and she's like, this is exciting. When she gets the text and somebody's coming after her. And I know what you did, and it's like, oh, this is exciting.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about that.
I don't know. I mean, I had some issue, and this is just kind of an issue with Addams Family overall, is when they do the real world stuff where she's in high school and they're beating up on Pugsley. The jocks are beating up on Pugsley, so she releases Piranha on them.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up.
And she and it's either that was to go to that school was her. Whatever the course decided that, or it was either that or something else.
Yeah.
But it's just it's always kind of this weird aspect where you kind of have like the real world in conjunction with this weird world.
Yeah.
And when it used to be isolated where it was just the Addams, it's just kind of one thing. When it's kind of a little bit more where it's like half of this town is freaks and the other half of this town are fine, upstanding citizens that don't like the freaks.
Yeah.
What's your
Well, going back
draw
to what
on
you were
that?
saying is we didn't talk about Pugsley at all.
right?
They did Pugsley dirty because Pugsley is not the type of kid.
He's not weak.
No,
He's not. I'm going to run away.
He's not weak, and I don't think that Wednesday is his protector. Wednesday would be the one stuffing him in the locker.
She'd be the one beating the shit out of him. Yes.
So I don't know if like I felt like that the typical thing with the jock shoving Pugsley into the locker and stuff. I feel like either he would think that was funny and be like again, it's like hey
More.
where they open up the locker. I'm not 5 more minutes,
Right,
and then they close the locker again, But they wanted to give a reason for her to do this really brutal and unforgivable thing, like having a bunch of piranhas chew their balls off in a swimming pool. And when there were other people in the pool, people could have easily gotten attacked by piranhas. It wasn't just the jocks swimming in that pool. And how do you know, usually with the jocks, there's there's one or two guys that are doing all the bullying, and then the rest are just kind of afraid also, but they just don't know what to do.
But I mean, in contrast, this happened in the live action movie, and the live action movie took this from the comics, where the carolers are caroling in front of the house, and the Addams are up on the roof, and they're about to drop some boiling oil on top of them. So, I guess like that works as a comic book, but as like a full, like when you try to put it in a concept of an entire world, it's like, well, how does that actually work?
Yeah.
How does that work?
I mean, there's sort of a whole bizarro thing where good is bad and bad is good. And, this thing, whatever, this soup burns my tongue. It's delicious. You're taking everything that is usually a negative, you're trying to show how eccentric they are by just taking things that are usually socially unacceptable and making them embrace, having the Addams embrace them. Usually you don't see carolers melting and boiling oil. You know what I mean?
Right.
You don't see them really hurting anyone. And that's the thing that keeps it in the right space to where you can like these characters. Whereas when they're driving their limousine and hitting real birds with their car as they're driving down the street, I'm sorry, I don't like these people. I don't like someone who would just floor it and smash birds as they're driving their car down the street.
In the live action movies, they did it opposite, where usually the person that was getting hurt in the end was usually the villain. And that's okay, that's fine. That's fine that Fester's fiance, she's dead and in the ground. Who gives a shit? Of course, technically she kind of did that to herself. So
there's some kind of like Inspector Gadget physics going on where just the bad people get the worst of it around them. But a lot of it, I kind of feel like it's like I said, it's just an expression of a dark sense of humor, and that there is some irony to the things that they're saying and they're doing. And when they're playing William Tell, and they're 100% sure that arrow is never gonna go in Pugsley's eye. You know what I mean? But I think that playing it close to their vest, where it's like, making it seem like I'm going to take my brother out and shoot an arrow through his head, but then not do it.
Right.
So it's I feel like that there's kind of like a, I don't know how to even describe that. Like I said, I mean, they all have a morbid sense of humor. They all have this sort of sadistic streak, but in the comics and in the movies, they always had devices to keep them just short of it being, oh, these are nasty people who are like, brutal. You see these people on the internet where they have these like, oh, nobody understands me, no, I'm always getting weird looks in the store, and I feel like the Addams always kind of appealed to those sorts of people, but not people who actually would hurt someone, or people who might watch serial killer mysteries on TV but not like really be a serial killer.
Right.
Anyway,
people that watch Dahmer, they tuned into Dahmer instead
people
of
who watch Dahmer,
Wednesday.
eat their dinner watching Dahmer, but not Dahmer himself.
Right.
So and what's interesting is how much flack the Munsters movie got. And the Munsters movie was really sweet and colorful. It's really funny that Rob Zombie gave us this very sweet and colorful and kind of innocent almost show, whereas like Wednesday has this kind of much darker aspect to it. And I think I feel like a lot of people really hated the Munsters movie, and the Munsters movie was not very elegantly done, but I had a good time watching it. It was funny, and it seemed to not take itself too seriously. Whereas with Wednesday, at times I felt like they were up their own ass a little bit.
Right.
I thought that there was a lot of creativity across the whole thing, and I enjoyed watching it. But I guess the nutshell, which I did pretty much state, is that everything around Wednesday is the most entertaining part of Wednesday, and that I I feel like that's a very difficult character to really sustain.
Right.
You know, but I do feel like a certain kind of person, like that person on the internet who finds themselves kind of like identifying as the outsider. Yes. Ooh, boy. I can smell those fumes. You know, I do think a certain kind of person sort of identifies themselves as being brutal like that.
Right. And you're looking forward to a season 2, or indifferent, or only if Paul forces me to watch this?
Only if Paul forces. I'd rather watch a season 2 of them. I'd rather see the Munsters done as a series.
You'd rather watch season 2 of Velma than?
I just wish the Munsters was a series, because that movie felt like a pilot.
Yeah.
It felt like a TV show.
I mean, from my side, I felt that it was just it was okay.
Yeah.
Just, you know, I mean, that's the standard Paul Sanders review, the Pantsless Producers reviews. It's fine.
It's okay.
It got me through whatever I had to. I had to watch it a second time right before,
so that I could getting angry about.
So I could not have the names anyway, because it took so long for us to get here. But
well, we've been working all day too.
Yes.
So.
But I don't know. I actually look forward to season 2.
Yeah.
I feel like she did make a little bit of advance.
Mm-hmm.
I'd hope that they would learn whatever the negatives are of this, that they would learn from that and turn them into positives. But I don't know if they could, because like, again, I feel like making them enjoy. They enjoy pain. They enjoy prison. They don't fear the police and everything, and then make them fear the police and fear pain and everything else. It's just it doesn't work. It doesn't work, and you have to have that in order to have your plot. You can't, you know, if it's affecting that character.
It's very hard to write for those characters, and that's a challenge that I think a lot of writers don't understand, because I think most scripts for TV are just the same scripts with different names swapped around.
Right.
And you have to be really clever and have a good sense of irony, and I think that, you know, there wasn't a good, like I said, there were a lot of good ideas in there, but the best ideas were not saved for the Addams.
Well, these shows were never express serialized. I wouldn't even consider the TV show serialized.
No.
They were basically like you would say, like a Looney Tunes. The next episode would just
everything
resets, and it would just be back to the beginning.
Yeah.
There's nothing that carries over. So this is like the first time that something has to be serialized, and I think that's kind of its downfall. That's
I think you're right, Paul. I think you're right, because I think that there is that aspect of it that it has to reset, because if you keep following that direction, you just can't have her killing people.
Right.
Then it comes Dexter. Then it becomes Dexter.
And that's a different show, and then you have to pay them. You have to 25% change that.
Yeah.
So, I think that would be enough for the day. Do you have any final words? Or are you good? You good to go? You ready to eat some pizza?
I'm ready to eat some pizza. Absolutely.
Let's eat some pizza, and hopefully you at home are getting some pizza.
Let's have a slice.
Yeah. And that is it for tonight, Dolly.
And I absolutely won't slice you in half with my pizza cutter.
And I'll try not to be woke. Good night, everyone.
God bless.